All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er look back at the NFL draft. And make sure you check out Pig in a Pickle. 2 locations there in Corte Madera and in Emeryville. They're open 7 days a week in Marin County from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And they're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace. Well, one of my favorite articles of the year came out this week, and that is when Matt Barrows sits down with Scott McCloughan, the former 49er general manager. It was McCloughan who built the 49ers draft board between 2005 and 2010. And he lives in Colorado right now. He works as a draft consultant for a number of different teams. Agents typically hire him to analyze their clients or give them consulting advice on prospective clients because he knows personnel. So he studied a lot of the players in the draft, but not all of them. So he sat down with Matt Barrows and went through the Niner draft, and he hadn't seen some of them, but he's got a number of really interesting observations that I thought we could talk about. One of them, McCloughan likes Jair Brown, the safety out of Penn State that the Niners took first overall, basically third. It was their third-round pick, number 87, but he was their first pick of the draft. And McCloughan says he loves Brown. He loves Brown for the toughness and the intelligence, the instincts, the makeup. But he likes him more as a rundown player and thinks that there's some weakness down the field. Like for example, he said anything deep is going to be an issue. So Jair Brown ran a 4.65 40, and according to McCloughan, he says he's going to show up in the run game. He's going to show up on special teams. He's going to show up on anything in front of him. But anything deep is going to be an issue. Then he went on to compare him to Hufanga, who fell in the draft. And Hufanga ran 4.64 2 years ago. McCloughan said that Hufanga moves better than Jair Brown. He had given Hufanga a third-round grade. Niners took Hufanga in the 5th. He gave Jair a 4th-round grade. And then just talked about how pass coverage, you can't be a step late. You got to be on time, and thinks that Jair Brown is not going to be a great coverage player. But I thought that was interesting. So that's your first glimpse into Scott's thinking. He likes Brown, but he thinks coverage-wise, in the deep part of the field, he may be a liability. Now, one of the guys that he really liked that a lot of people don't like so far is Cameron Latou, the 3rd-round pick out of Alabama. McCloughan said that he had a 2nd-round grade on the Alabama tight end. He said, I've been scouting him for 3 years. I saw him in the spring game as a sophomore. I never lost sight of him from that point on. He acknowledges that Latou is a work in progress and that, because he switched from defensive end to tight end before the 2019 season, that he's really not played a lot of tight end. But McCloughan loves his competitive fire. He says he competes, talking about Latou's blocking ability. He says not just there yet. He said it's just not there yet. But that's what I'm saying. When it's all said and done, he's got a chance to be an every down tight end, which means he can block and work as a receiver. I think he can get in there in time. I think he will intrigue the S out of you in rookie minicamp, OTAs, and training camp, because you're going to see some of that athleticism. It's pretty freaking cool. I guarantee you he's a phenomenal basketball player. I guarantee it. You can just tell. And I thought that was kind of an interesting comment. And he basically went on to say that, that he sees a lot. He's like, when I watched Tony Gonzalez run routes, you could tell he was a basketball player. You could see how smooth he was. You could see the flexibility. You could see that his movements in and out of breaks. There's no wasted steps. That's what Latou has. He said Latou's not there yet, but he has a chance to get there. That's going to end up being a hell of a pick. And then I guess Latou actually did grow up playing basketball. He wrestled, he ran track, and was also on the rugby team. So Latou's an all-around athlete. So he likes the Latou pick, which was interesting because a lot of people panned that pick, but he said he's got a 2nd-round grade on him. I thought that was interesting. The other one, he liked Braden Willis. He likes the length of Braden Willis, 33.5-inch arms, good receiving skills. He thought it was good value in round 7 at pick 247. He basically questioned whether he's strong enough to be an inline blocker on the line of scrimmage, saying that he's a big receiver right now, but what you're hoping for is that he turns into a tight end. His saving grace was the Senior Bowl, hands down. That put him on the map because it showed his athleticism. But that's what he is, a 7-on-7, 1-on-1 guy. In 11-on-11, unless he's flexed out, he's not going to help you. In other words, he's a receiver or a flexed out receiver, and he's underpowered, and you wouldn't want him to block at the line of scrimmage. He's a great blocker in space at picking out athletes in space and hitting them. But as far as standing up against defensive ends, that's going to be a tough one. So, so that makes him a developmental player, and that's why he went 247th overall. But you could see there from Scott's breakdown that he likes Willis as a playmaker. He likes him as a receiver, and we all know he's kind of a try-hard blocker type. But can he block in line? He said he likes Ronnie Bell as a college player, but not as a pro, which would be my exact belief as well. He said it's his speed. He ran 4.54 in the 40. He's one of those guys, you love college football because those guys can be good. They can be damn good. But you know what? They're not NFL players. If he makes the team then their 5th and 6th wide receivers are not good at all because Bell is young and doesn't run fast, and as you get older, you get slower. So, yeah, he agrees with me on that one. He sees that Ronnie Bell is not really an NFL player, and that was kind of a bizarre pick. But the best thing that he said in this entire article had to do with Jalen Graham, who was the 49ers' last pick. And, he thinks Jalen Graham's a ball player. Now, we're talking about the Purdue linebacker. He was taking 4 picks before Mr. Irrelevant, and he thinks it's great value. He says, I gave him a 4th-round grade 2 years in a row. Nobody else liked him. I kept saying, what do you mean? He's out there making plays. After the draft, John Lynch said that D. Winters, the TCU linebacker, reminded him a lot of Dre Greenlaw, which I agree with that. I think that's a great comp, is Greenlaw. I said Jamie Winborn, but I'd be fine with Greenlaw. But McCloughan, when he was talking about Jalen Graham, says he reminds him a lot of Azeez Al-Shaair, who signed this offseason with the Titans just a couple months ago. So I was really excited to see this. To me, this was real news. When somebody like Scott McCloughan, who has a great eye for talent, says that your 7th-round linebacker at a Purdue is a ball player, guess what? Your 7th-round linebacker from Purdue is a ball player. That's how much McCloughan's on it. And Graham, it's not like he's crazy slow. He ran 4.64 at the combine. He didn't run better at Purdue's pro day. He actually ran slower, 4.78, which is why he wound up in the 7th round of the draft. But McCloughan said that Graham had terrific eyes. In other words, he diagnoses plays on time or pre-snap. And he reacted quickly to plays, and that his 5-yard closing speed was excellent. And then McCloughan was quoted. He says, and that's how the game is played. Because I'm telling you, this cat's got change of direction. He's got instincts. He's got eyes. And he's got pass rush, too. So on 3rd down, he can put his hand on the ground. McCloughan predicted that Graham would be a standout on special teams. And that he'll compete for a spot at strong side backer. That, obviously vacated by Azeez jumping in free agency. And the last quote, he says, I'd be surprised if he doesn't make it because he's got some qualities that are pretty unique. Whoever found him, whoever that scout was, that's pretty freaking cool. So I agree wholeheartedly. I watched Purdue several times 2 years ago, and I thought, Jalen Graham plays fast. I comped him to Keena Turner because to me, he can, I don't see a pass rusher, but like Scott does, but I think he could be a delayed blitzer. But what I see more than anything is just really good quickness, really good athleticism. He knows how to play football, very competitive football player, smart football player. He's flowing towards the ball at the snap because he's obviously a smart player who's in his playbook, in his cut-ups, in his film study, and he knows where he's going. So I don't see him as a 3rd down rusher like Scott does. But I think Jalen Graham, so he ran 4.6 at the combine. To me, when you watch him, he looks like a 4.5 40 guy. I thought he was. I thought he'd be like, if you said, what's he going to run? I would have said 4.58, 4.59, something like that. He ran 4.64. And then 4.78 at the pro day, which is obviously really slow. But I think he plays faster than that. And ultimately, that's what it's about. How fast do you play? And Jalen Graham plays fast, and he's a good tackler. And he's flowing in the right direction. He knows how to play football, and he's played a lot. So the Purdue coaches it up well, too. I mean, Derek Barnes was a good player there. They've had some good backers for sure. And I really like the Jalen Graham pick. And then when I saw him go in the 7th round and I saw some of the 4.78 pro day number, I thought, well, maybe he's just not an NFL athlete. But to hear McCloughan, who knows these guys better than almost anybody, say that, yeah, this guy's quick. This guy's quick to step up and, has excellent burst to close to the football. Because that's what I saw too. That's exactly what I saw. I saw a guy who looks like a 4.5 linebacker who is very, very heady and very smart. Jalen Graham is going to make it a very difficult call for the 49ers at the cutdown because there's not really a roster spot for him. But how do you keep special teamers like Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles and Curtis Robinson over a guy like Graham who probably can play from scrimmage? I don't think you can. I think Graham's going to wind up getting that spot. So the long and the short of it is of the McCloughan piece, and it was a really good piece, and Matt Barrows does a great job. The Athletic does a great job of covering the Niners. Matty B and, of course, David Lombardi do a really good job over there covering the 49ers. But this is one of my favorite articles of the year. Why? Because McCloughan is truly an independent voice. And it was a couple years ago when I'm reading this exact article that McCloughan said his favorite player in the draft 2 years ago, wait for it, Talanoa Hufanga. A 5th-round safety with a slowish 40 time. And he's like, yeah, Hufanga's a player. So just note that, in this draft, he really likes Jalen Graham, the linebacker in the 7th round. And he likes Cameron Latu, the tight end from Alabama. And he likes Jair Brown, but he's concerned about his long-term coverage ability down the field. And he likes the receiving ability of Braden Willis, just not much of him as an outside or as an inline blocker. He didn't see Luter, didn't comment on Beal, didn't comment on Winters because he hadn't seen those guys, which is the way a real scout would do it. But to me, the two that are exciting is that he really likes Cameron Latu. So, that makes me really eager to see what Latu's got. And you know what? The one thing I really loved about his evaluation of Latu is that I saw that kind of basketball player athleticism where I don't know about exactly how he tests. And I'm not even 100% sure as far as, that he's getting the most out of his ability right now. But you can see that fluidity in his movements, and that's encouraging. And for him to bring up Tony Gonzalez, I thought that was a great takeaway. But the biggest takeaway is this kid, Jalen Graham. To me, he looks like a real like a baller, like an NFL starter. And to hear Scott break him down and be so glowing in his evaluation makes me even that much more confident. So if you get a chance, go watch the Jalen Graham film. I have a feeling that it's really, really good because I watched it. And you'll see a guy that looks like he's running around 4.5 speed out there and made a ton of plays, and the production's there. So great to see Scott McCloughan loved Jalen Graham out of Purdue with the 49ers' last pick in the 7th round. All right, that does it for our 49er video on Scott McCloughan's reaction to the draft. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out the Krug Show for all your Niner content. And thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the show. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. Once again, thanks for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.